People who have restaurant experience. What's a dirty secret people should know?
Story 1. As a server, we had this one guy who would come in and order the same thing multiple times a week. His bill was always 18.59. He liked to talk, and he was a very big guy and not attractive, I guess. None of the waiters ever wanted him because he talked so much. I started taking his table, and I always let him talk a bit. If things were busy, I'd let him talk and say, "Hey, it's busy tonight, I gotta go to my other tables, but I'll be back." And I would. He always tipped me a 20. When Christmas came along, he brought me a damn microwave because he remembered one time I said I didn't have one. So normally this sounds weird, right? But this guy was so nice and genuine and never hit on me. He just wanted to talk to someone. I was sad when I moved, and obviously we didn't have each other's contact info, but I still think about him and hope another waitress has got his back. Story 2. If you order from pizza delivery places regularly, you will be treated different depending on how you treat the staff. A lot of systems have sections to leave notes on customers. Personally, if I knew the person was cool, I would hook them up with discounts or as much cheese and peppers and napkins as I could stuff in their bags. If they were jerks, it was always, "Whoops, sorry buddy, just ran out." Story 3. At 90% of the places you eat at, the ice machine is full of black mold. For me, it's a personal pet peeve, so I make sure the ice machines are sanitized and cleaned once per week. But so many chefs don't give a fuck. Most of the staff are on drugs. Even the nice server you had at dinner tonight is probably high on something. Nicotine at the very least. Oh, and they vape in the kitchen and in the walk-in cooler. Again, I do not approve. The owner might have a coke habit. Alcohol is the worst culprit. A lot of the staff are fucking each other, but who cares? People fuck all the time, and the best place to meet a fuckhole is at work. It only sucks when they bring their relationship drama into the workplace. Which does happen from time to time, but it shouldn't have much of an impact on your meal. Nobody is gonna fuck with your food, even if you're an asshole. I'm happy to say that in 15 plus years, I've never actually seen anybody spit in food or serve anything that touched the floor. It's unprofessional as fuck, and a cardinal sin in my opinion. We always respect allergies. I would probably physically fight a chef who knowingly tampered with a customer's food, or at the very least make sure they were fired immediately. Maybe I'm lucky that I've been able to work at well-run establishments during my career. Never once have I seen a roach or a rat in any of my kitchens. The worst was maybe some fruit flies, but those are easily dealt with. Some restaurants really fucking suck. But I like to think that most of us take pride in our work and try to just serve safe, tasty food to people. Story 4. When I worked in a restaurant, Cajun Creole Bar and Grill, the owner was from Baton Rouge. We kept it clean and followed code even if the inspector wasn't coming, so nothing dirty, really, but we cold brewed our iced tea by filling huge Rubbermaid trash cans. They were dedicated for this, had never been used for their manufactured purpose, with cold water and throwing a few kitchen-sized tea bags in them before leaving them in the walk-in overnight. We filled them with a hose attached to the sink while they were in the walk-in, otherwise they'd be too heavy to move. We'd fill the tea dispensers by drawing it from the trash cans with small buckets. We would go through 2 of those fuckers a day, and the little bit remaining at night would be emptied, and the cans would be cleaned with bleach water and hosed out thoroughly before being refilled again. Story 5. Behind the scenes, all kitchens and staff, front of house and back of house, are all the same. It doesn't matter if you're eating at the most fine dining establishments imaginable, 5-star rated places, or chain restaurants, or tiny little dumps. The kitchen guys are swearing like sailors, tatted up and maybe on work release, and are blasting their rap music if allowed. Servers can go from super professional and polite to cussing and talking shit about their customers. All of the behind-the-scenes drama is all the same, from one place to another. Your silverware likely is not as clean and pristine polished as you would hope. Story 6. I'm a sous chef in a family-owned small scratch kitchen. We make a majority of our food from scratch. The prevailing myth that people will spit in your food or do something gross to it is highly hyped. We're professionals trying our best to make good food, or at the very least to earn a paycheck. No one is going to risk their employment and potentially be blacklisted by other restaurants, we all talk, just to get back at someone for sending food back. Obviously, these things do happen because not everyone is a stable individual, but the idea of "don't send it back, they'll spit in it" is frankly absurd. If your food is taking a lot longer than you think it should, the kitchen probably just got slammed, and even though your food doesn't take long to prepare, chances are there are a good 20, 30 people ahead of your order. A good server will let you know and maybe even offer you a freebie, if they're allowed to. But maybe just try and enjoy your company for a little bit and be patient, your food will come out. We don't have a personal vendetta against you. You just happen to come in at a bad time. Want to piss off the kitchen without coming in 5 minutes before closing? Ask to heavily modify your meal to the point of it being totally unrecognizable to the original dish. Never mind the chef or the team spent a lot of time, research, and trial and error to put something out that tastes great. Just go full Burger King and ask for a total custom dish because you like what you like. You certainly won't piss off the crew or throw off any flow they've got going on. Prices are going up everywhere. Eating out is a luxury, not a right. Sorry guys, shit is getting expensive for us too. If we want to stay open, we have to raise prices to match what our food cost is. Them's the breaks. No one is happy about it, but it is what it is. So maybe don't bitch out your server because I can get a McDouble for $6. Why is your burger $15? Also, yeah, Karen, you can make fries at home for about $2. But you're not. You're here instead, paying us to make food for you. Sure, fries are cheap to make, but the cost of your steak is being offset slightly because fries cost $7 instead of $2. We're a fucking business. We need to make profit to survive. Lastly, we're a ragtag team of miscreants from all walks of life just trying our best. In my kitchen alone, our dishwasher is from Congo, our second dishwasher is a Ukrainian war refugee, one of my line boys is a recovering addict who is the nicest person I've ever met. My grill guy is a former shut-in who doesn't understand human communication. I've worked every job under the sun and just generally don't under-attan people. And my head chef is a crude lesbian who has dealt with trauma and abuse most of her life. We all work together to make your night out enjoyable and hope that you like the food we make for you. Also, if you like your meal, ask if you can buy the kitchen a round of beers after work. We don't make tips, and we're often forgotten about. A little kindness goes a long way. Story 7. You would be really surprised with what restaurants can legally get away with as it pertains to cleanliness. Stuff that you think would absolutely get a restaurant shut down is just a simple warning from a health inspector. You think the restaurant you eat in is pest-free? Think again. Even the nicest, outwardly cleanest-looking restaurants have roaches and rats. You can't eliminate them. You can only manage them. Story 8. I once worked at an upscale, no children allowed on the property bed and breakfast, and the staff was instructed to save everything. Someone didn't finish their milk? Pour it back into the container for the next meal. Only ate part of their steak? Cut off the rest, slice it thin, and now we have steak for breakfast. And it was everything served. Butter, vegetables, desserts, just everything. So fucking disgusting. But I was young and didn't know you could report them. Luckily, I was just a maid, but I still feel bad that I didn't do anything to stop it. Story 9. If you come in regularly, have a weird order, bring your own sauces and dressings, and always stiff your waiter, we're all going to do everything we can to not wait on you. Even the kitchen doesn't want to make your food. They will, however, never ever fuck with your food. We might all hate you and your mall pretzel shop cheese dip you bring in for your calzone, but we will never fuck with your food. Story 10. Restaurant employees are the most unhealthy, sickly, gross bunch of drunks, stoners, and drug addicts who happen to be fucking each other. And yes, they work sick, all the time, while handling your food, especially while handling your food. Also, 99% of ice machines have black mold. Also, we talk about all of our customers. Also, fine dining food is 45% butter. That's why it tastes great. Also, a restaurant will buy a bottle of wine for $12 and then turn around and sell each individual glass from that same bottle for $12 apiece. Story 11. I worked at a pub, and every so often someone comes to clean out the grease traps. The guy was cool and talkative because some processes took longer and he just had to wait till it was done. He worked at many places. I asked him, "What's the worst place you have to clean?" He said without even thinking, "Swiss Chalet, it can take up a whole day." Story 12. There are exceptions. but most people who own restaurants are horrible people. The business attracts the worst kind of people to work for because it's easy to take advantage of people who need money, are easily replaceable, and often undocumented immigrants. Sexual harassment is very common with usually no consequences. If you work for a big company that has HR, then maybe you can report your handsy manager. But when it's a mom and pop type place, and pop is the boss, then you can either quit or deal with it. I have been lucky enough to work for a couple of really great bar owners, but in my experience, most of them are smarmy, greedy little shits with god complexes and bad breath that put their grubby little hands all over their staff if they can get away with it, and try to squeeze as much labor out of people for the smallest amount of money, and have zero appreciation for anyone. Story 13. I mean, this is no restaurant experience, but it's somewhat close. I went to 7-Eleven one morning to grab a coffee because I was lazy to drive a few extra minutes out of the way to Tim Hortons. Filled up a cup of coffee and went to the cream machine, and it was all clogged up. I guess the cream fat gets solid once in a while. So it clogged up the little straw spout coming out of the machine. I told the cashier and he said he would fix it. He came over and stuck his bare finger up the hole and squeezed the tube, and all the cream and shit was all over his fingers. I just left my coffee near the machine and walked out. I don't know if it makes much of a difference, but he was Indian. And I've been seeing a lot of Indian street food videos online, and there's lots of bare hand handling going on with food and drinks. So I guess it's just normal, but definitely doesn't pass the food industry standards over here. So think about that next time you get any coffee creamer from a gas station. Also, saw a homeless guy in Safeway eating soup out of the self-serve soup bowl section. Yes, I reported it. But if I didn't see it. Story 14. Not a restaurant, but a high-end movie theater. I'll never eat fresh movie theater food again. Hot dogs, always super overcooked, and came in bags that smelled awful and didn't have expiration dates on them. So it was a mystery how old they were when they went out on the heated rollers. Nachos. The chips were fine, but the nacho cheese that came with them was usually so gelatinous that we had to cut it with whatever oil we had on hand to get it to an edible consistency. Popcorn. We'd always pop it on a big opening night, or more often Friday night, as that was always our busiest day. We'd pop it then because customers could see it, and it gave the impression that the popcorn they were eating was fresh. It wasn't. It was at the very least 2 days old, and more often than not, a week old. Whatever we popped on that Friday, we'd bag in these giant, thick yellow plastic bags while the popcorn was still hot, usually burning little holes in the, I'm assuming, food-grade safe plastic, but honestly, who knows, and keep in the back for up to 7 days. Then we'd take the least fresh bag, rip it open and toss the popcorn into the heated cabinet, and shovel that into the bucket you ordered. Story 15. I don't work in a restaurant, but I'm the kitchen at my job. When residents are rude and being jerks, they get served last. The ones who have manners usually get served first. If they are eating in their room and are rude, they have to wait till after meal is served. If they are polite, they get before everyone else is served. One person has to be in the dining room at all times. Asterisk, asterisk, everyone eats. But we usually have 2 people running plates, so max wait from start of service is approx 5 minutes. Story 16. Always be nice to your server. About 22 years ago, I saw a guy come in with his date, and I think he was being an asshole to everyone to impress her. So his server halted me when I was about to take the guy's steak to him. He pulled out a bottle of Vicine and told me to keep an eye on the guy. About 15 minutes later, the guy basically ran to the bathroom. He was in there well over a half hour. I bet he didn't get lucky that night. Vicine will give you crippling diarrhea for those who don't know. It's clear and tasteless, so it's easy to hide on your food. Other than that, I never really saw cooks spit on food or anything like that. I've seen a couple that could have better hand-washing habits. Story 17. Most of the dishes, especially serviceware, are not being washed with soap. They get sprayed down with water and sent through an old, dirty dish machine that rarely gets cleaned out or filtered. Also, I've seen lots of cooks that don't wash their hands after their smoke breaks. I've also seen quite a bit of food fall on the floor and tossed back into the fryer. If you have a severe allergy and that is an ingredient on their menu, there will be cross-contamination. Cutting boards don't get changed, or knives or gloves or the grill, etc. Story 18. If you guys knew how staff handles your food with little regard or care, you wouldn't eat there. I've seen disgusting stuff in kitchens, like food getting dropped and mishandled and still sent out the window. Some restaurant owners try to cut corners. For example, I worked at one of those crab boil places where you get the food in a bag with the sauce, potato, and corn. The owner had us using refrigerator units that didn't work and told us to just put the deli stuff and raw stuff under ice. You cannot replenish the ice when dinner hits and it's busy for 3-4 hours. We would have to work with lukewarm food. We actually failed 2 food inspections and were told by the 3rd time if we didn't have proper working equipment, we would be shut down. Somebody in corporate took the initiative to buy the new equipment and we passed. But he was later fired when the owner discovered who it was. Also, the plumbing was so bad during a business hour, dinner specifically, we noticed water rising out of the floor drains, even in the dining section. Before we knew it, it was up to our ankles, and we started realizing this was pee and shit water. I was assistant kitchen manager at the time, and remember telling them to close it down and have people out of there ASAP. But the owner wanted to make the money from the people already seated. Just be weary when going out to eat. You don't know what goes on BOH and when the doors are closed. Story 19. The rules about hand washing are practically impossible to really follow, especially in restaurants people expect to be fast, so a lot of people don't wash their hands often or properly. Bosses do not give enough time to wash your hands for a full 20 seconds, let alone after every contact with money, dirty plates, used glasses, dirty towels, brooms, etc. Like, most restaurants have a full hands in, full hands out rule, meaning you have to bring in dirty dishes and run any food. However, they rush the employees so much, they can't properly wash their hands between dropping off dirty plates and picking up clean ones to run to your table. I've even seen restaurants where the hand-washing sink is so out of the way that most employees don't bother even trying to wash their hands at all sometimes. It's so gross. During the height of COVID, it was a little better because people would let you take that extra 20 seconds to wash, but now they are back to rushing and being demanding. Like, sure, Karen, I could grab your order right now, but there's still germs on my hands from touching all the stuff on the register, pre-bussing another table, and wiping down counters. They get so mad over having to wait 20 damn seconds.